the final message. The tension on Earth was palpable. The alien fleet was on its way, advancing through the galaxy toward Earth at unimaginable speeds. The leaders of Earth knew they had one final chance to avoid total destruction. The aliens had already conquered dozens of other worlds, and their next target was Earth. There was no time left for diplomacy, no more chances to negotiate. The humans had only one option: send a message. Inside a large, dimly lit room in the Earth Defense Command Center, high-ranking officials gathered around a holographic display. General Sarah West stood at the center, her hands gripping the edge of the table. Her face was tense, her eyes locked on the swerving blue light of the galaxy on the screen before her. The alien fleet was just days away from entering Earth's atmosphere. Time was running out. "Send it now," General West said, her voice firm but filled with desperation. One of her officers, a young man named Lieutenant Harris, sat at a terminal in front of a large screen. His fingers moved swiftly across the keys, sending a signal to the Alien Coalition's communication network. The message was short, simple, and clear. "We are humanity. You have been warned. Leave or face the consequences. You have no idea what you're up against." It was a gamble, a last-ditch effort to save billions of lives. The humans had no idea if the aliens would even listen, but they had to try. General West knew that the message would be their final chance. If the aliens ignored it, Earth would be helpless in the face of their overwhelming power. As the message was sent, the room fell into an eerie silence. Everyone in the room knew that they had just made a decision that could change the course of history. The silence was only broken by the soft hum of computers and the distant sounds of soldiers preparing for battle. But then the reply came, faster than anyone could have expected. It wasn't a direct response to the message, but a statement from the alien leadership. The text flickered on the screen in the room, and the words seemed almost mocking. "You dare to threaten us, Earthlings. We are the pinnacle of the cosmos. Your warning is nothing more than the pathetic cry of a doomed species. Prepare to be wiped from existence. The galaxy will know your name only in history's trash heap." The response was clear. The aliens weren't worried. They saw Earth as nothing more than a speck in the universe, a planet with no real power or threat. To them, humanity's warning was laughable. They had conquered entire star systems, wiped out civilizations far older and more advanced than Earth. What was one more insignificant planet to them? General West's heart sank as she read the alien response. They had been dismissed. The aliens didn't even take the threat seriously. But then something inside her hardened. They couldn't give up now. Earth couldn't back down. She turned to the other officers in the room. "We may be small, but we are not weak," she said, her voice rising with determination. "Prepare the fleet. We will show them that humans are not to be underestimated. They made a mistake in underestimating us." The officers nodded, their faces set with resolve. Lieutenant Harris quickly began preparing the countermeasures, sending commands to the hidden military assets across Earth's surface. The fleet was still a secret, and their technology was years ahead of anything the aliens could have expected. But as the humans rallied, the alien fleet continued its march. They didn't fear the humans. In fact, they were excited to crush the puny Earthlings beneath their feet. The alien commanders laughed, dismissing the warning as a joke. They were used to seeing weak species beg for mercy, only to fall under the might of their superior forces. They didn't care about Earth. The alien supreme leader, Korgath, stood in the Grand Command Chamber of the flagship, surrounded by his generals. He looked down at the holographic map of the galaxy, his cold eyes scanning the projection of Earth. "Do you honestly think they stand a chance?" Korgath asked, his voice deep and menacing. "Their message is nothing more than a final cry for help. Let's end it quickly. Their world will burn, and their species will be nothing more than a memory." His generals nodded in agreement. They had seen it all before: weak, fragile species begging for mercy, offering everything from resources to surrender, only to be destroyed. Earth would be no different. The fleet continued its journey, but in their arrogance, they had no idea what was waiting for them. Back on Earth, General West stared at the holographic map in front of her, a grim determination in her eyes. The response from the aliens had been a blow, but it also fueled her resolve. She had one final option, a weapon so powerful it had been kept secret for years. A weapon the aliens had no knowledge of, one that could potentially change the fate of the galaxy. Her team was ready. The last hope of humanity rested on their shoulders. As the alien fleet grew closer, they could only hope that their secret weapon would be enough to stop the invaders. But deep down, General West knew the truth. The warning had been ignored. The aliens had laughed. Now, the real battle would begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy that it had underestimated them in the worst way possible. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the galaxy itself, was about to change forever. And in the silence that followed, one question lingered. Could humanity really stand against the overwhelming power of the alien fleet, or had they sealed their doom with their final warning? The build-up. The response from the aliens still hung heavy in the air. It was clear that Earth's final warning had been laughed off, dismissed as a futile attempt from a species with no real power. But for General Sarah West and her team, there was no turning back. The countdown had already begun. The battle for Earth's survival would not be won by words. It would be won by action. Inside the Earth Defense Command Center, officers worked around the clock, their eyes fixed on the flickering holograms of the alien fleet. The aliens were making their way through the galaxy with frightening speed, and Earth had no time to waste. They had one secret weapon, one hope, and it was humanity's last chance. General West paced in front of the massive map, her mind racing. She knew that the aliens were overconfident. They thought they had already won, and that would be their downfall. The alien fleet was colossal, a deadly collection of warships that seemed invincible. But what they didn't know was that Earth's own fleet had been secretly built over decades, hidden beneath the oceans, within mountain bases, and buried deep in forgotten bunkers. The weapon the humans had developed wasn't just any weapon. It was something that had never been tested, a technology so advanced and so dangerous that it had been kept under wraps, hidden from even the most powerful military minds on Earth. But now it was the last card they had to play. General West's heart thudded in her chest as she stood in front of the huge control panel. She looked at Lieutenant Harris, who had been tirelessly working with the scientists to perfect the weapon. His face was grim, but his eyes shone with a quiet hope. "It's ready," Harris said, his voice steady. "The alien fleet won't know what hit them." For a moment, General West allowed herself to feel a flicker of relief, but she knew better than to get comfortable. This was just the beginning. The aliens were still on their way, and with every passing second, Earth's time to act was running out. A soft ping interrupted the silence in the room. The hologram flickered, and a new message appeared from the alien fleet. "Your final chance has passed. We are coming. Prepare to be erased from existence." General West read the message, then turned to her team. "This is it. The time for warnings is over. Let's show them that humanity is not to be underestimated." With a determined nod, the officers began preparing the fleet. The large hangar doors opened, revealing Earth's hidden armada, ships that had been waiting for this moment. Massive warships, stealth vessels, and sleek fighter ships, all designed with one goal in mind: to fight back against the alien invaders. Each ship was a work of advanced technology, far beyond anything the aliens could imagine. But even as the fleet was readied for launch, doubts crept into the minds of some of the officers. Was the weapon truly powerful enough to stop the aliens? Was there any chance they could hold their ground against the overwhelming force of the alien armada? No one had ever fought a battle like this before, and no one had ever faced enemies like the aliens. Lieutenant Harris stood by the massive control console, watching the countdown to launch. The energy from the hidden weapon was building up, its power growing stronger by the minute. Yet, even as the final seconds ticked away, Harris couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The weapon's power had never been tested in a real battle. It was humanity's greatest gamble, and if it failed, the consequences would be devastating. The alien fleet was now on the edge of Earth's atmosphere. General West's voice broke through the tension in the room. "Launch the fleet," she ordered, her voice firm. The command was clear, but the weight of what was happening settled on her shoulders. This was it. There was no turning back. The engines of Earth's ships roared to life, sending a shockwave through the facility as the fleet rose into the sky. The massive warships ascended into the atmosphere, their forms disappearing into the clouds as they moved toward the alien fleet. As Earth's forces prepared for battle, General West stood at the command center, watching with unwavering focus. Meanwhile, the alien fleet loomed in space, just outside Earth's orbit. The alien commanders could see Earth's forces gathering, but they were not concerned. Their ships were far more advanced, their weapons far more powerful. Earth's efforts were a joke to them, a last-minute display of desperation. Supreme Commander Korgath stood on the bridge of the flagship, gazing at the planet below. His many eyes scanned the display in front of him, noting the tiny Earth fleet gathering for battle. "Let them make their move," Korgath said with a sneer. "We will crush them in an instant." His generals agreed, their laughter filling the room. They didn't fear the humans. No one had ever withstood the might of the alien coalition, and Earth's final warning would be no different. As far as the aliens were concerned, this was nothing more than a formality before they eradicated humanity. The countdown for Earth's weapon was nearly complete. Humanity's secret weapon was almost ready, and the fleet was on its way. Yet, as the seconds ticked down, General West's mind raced. What if the aliens were right? What if they were not strong enough to defeat them? But then, a sudden resolve filled her. "We will show them what humanity is capable of," she whispered, the final words of hope before the chaos began. The unknown weapon was the key. It was the last hope for Earth, and General West had no choice but to place her faith in it, praying it would be enough to stop the invaders before it was too late. As the alien fleet drew nearer, ready to destroy Earth without a second thought, humanity's final stand began. The universe would soon witness the most unlikely of battles, and no one, not even the aliens, would be prepared for what was about to unfold. The first strike. The moment Earth's fleet launched into space, it sent a shockwave of excitement and terror through every officer and soldier. The war had begun. General Sarah West stood at the command center, watching the streams of data pour in from every corner of the globe. She could feel the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. There was no time for doubt. Earth's last hope was now in motion. The alien fleet, in all its massive, foreboding glory, loomed just beyond the planet's orbit. Their ships were sleek and powerful, their weapons capable of obliterating anything in their path. The alien commanders were confident, eager to erase humanity from the galaxy's map. Their arrogance was palpable, their thoughts consumed with victory. Yet, the alien leaders had no idea what humanity had in store. Earth's fleet wasn't like anything they had ever encountered. Hidden beneath the surface for decades, the warships that now soared into space were equipped with technology that was centuries ahead of anything the aliens had ever seen. They were humanity's greatest secret, kept hidden for this very moment. As the ships emerged from Earth's atmosphere, their engines ignited with a brilliant flare, and they swiftly formed into battle formations. The immense vessels took their positions, the fleet spreading out in a defensive line, while the stealth ships, cloaked in advanced technology, snuck into the shadow of the alien fleet. General West's fingers clenched tightly around the console. Every piece of information was being relayed to her in real time. Her heart raced, but her mind was calm. She had one objective: to buy time for the final weapon. Earth's fleet was strong, but it wouldn't be enough to take down the alien armada. The alien forces vastly outnumbered them. It was up to humanity's secret weapon to deliver the final blow. Suddenly, the radio crackled, and the voice of one of the commanders on the front line came through. "General West, we're in position, ready to engage the enemy." "Proceed," she ordered, her voice steady. "Fire at will." Without hesitation, Earth's fleet fired the first shots of the war. Bright beams of energy shot out from the warships, cutting through the vast emptiness of space toward the approaching alien fleet. The soundless flash of laser fire echoed across the communication lines. At first, the alien commanders barely noticed the attack. They saw the incoming fire as nothing more than a series of minor disturbances. Earth's ships were too small, too weak, they thought. The aliens' shields effortlessly absorbed the initial barrage. Pathetic, Korgath, the supreme commander of the alien fleet, muttered as he watched the humans' futile first strike. His generals chuckled, confident in their inevitable victory. But General West wasn't finished. She had expected this. The first strike was a distraction, a way to force the aliens to take notice. And now, as they focused their attention on the smaller ships, Earth's hidden weapon was ready. In the deep silence of space, the weapon was activated. The cloaked stealth ships moved into position, undetected by the alien fleet. Their engines hummed quietly as they positioned themselves in perfect alignment. At the center of this invisible fleet lay humanity's final hope, the weapon that had been kept secret for so long. It wasn't a bomb. It wasn't a laser cannon. It was something far more dangerous, a rift generator. This device, built with technology scavenged from long-forgotten ruins and enhanced by Earth's finest minds, had the ability to manipulate space itself. It was capable of opening rifts in the fabric of space-time, allowing ships to disappear and reappear at will. The first rift opened in the distance, stretching the fabric of space like a rubber band. The air seemed to ripple around it, and a strange, unnatural hum filled the void. Then, in the blink of an eye, the alien ships began to vanish, one by one. The aliens' first reaction was shock. "What is happening?" Korgath demanded, his voice rising. "Where are our ships?" The commanders on the bridge of the flagship scrambled in panic. Ships that were once firmly in their grasp, ships that represented their might, were simply disappearing. There were no explosions, no fiery crashes, just the sudden, impossible vanishing of entire fleets. The rifts were opening, and Earth's weapon was in full force. For the first time, the aliens realized they had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated humanity. The alien fleet tried to respond, but the rifts kept coming, swallowing more ships with each passing second. The remaining alien warships scrambled to regroup, but it was too late. One of their largest and most formidable dreadnoughts, the flagship Vehemence, vanished into thin air, leaving a gaping void in its place. Korgath's voice shook with disbelief. "This cannot be. Who has the power to?" "Retreat." One of his generals screamed, but it was too late. The rift generator had worked. The entire alien fleet, once so powerful and unstoppable, was being torn apart, ripped from space, and scattered across unknown corners of the galaxy. Back on Earth, General West watched in silence. Her heart pounded as the visual of the alien fleet being torn apart filled the screen in front of her. She had done it. Humanity had done it. But there was no time to celebrate. The alien fleet wasn't gone, not entirely. Some ships had managed to escape the rifts, their systems damaged but still functioning. They would regroup. They would come back. General West exhaled deeply, her mind already calculating the next move. The battle had only just begun. The first strike had been a success, but the war was far from over. The aliens would not forgive this humiliation. They would return stronger, angrier, and more determined than ever to finish what they had started. And yet, for the first time in the war, the aliens were afraid. They had thought themselves untouchable, invincible. But now they were beginning to realize the truth. Humanity would not be so easily erased. The message had been sent. Earth had made its stand, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The vanishing fleet. The silence of space was eerie. After the initial shock of Earth's devastating rift attack, there was nothing but the cold emptiness of the galaxy. But for those on Earth's command center, there was a strange sense of victory. General West stood with her eyes glued to the screen as the last fragments of the alien fleet flickered and vanished from sight. The rift generator had done its job, but not entirely. The alien fleet hadn't been fully destroyed. Instead, they had been scattered across the galaxy, displaced into unknown sectors. The human fleet's first strike had been an overwhelming success, but it had also unleashed a new wave of tension. What would the aliens do next? "We've hit them hard, but we haven't finished them yet," General West muttered to herself. Her voice was steady, but inside, she couldn't deny the anxiety creeping in. The rift generator had worked, but it was not a perfect weapon. It had done the unthinkable, but the alien ships that survived would not take this lying down. Lieutenant Harris stepped forward, his face pale as he examined the data streaming across his console. "General, we've detected movement from the scattered fleet. Some of the ships, they're reappearing." General West's stomach twisted. "How?" she asked, her voice sharp. "The rifts, they don't stay open forever. But the ships that were pulled through the rifts, they are reorienting themselves. They're finding ways to move, even if their systems are damaged. It wasn't over yet. The alien fleet might be scattered, but it was far from defeated. They were regrouping, reassessing, and once they did, they would be more dangerous than ever." Back in the heart of the alien fleet, Supreme Commander Korgath paced furiously across the bridge of the Vehemence. The ship had been the flagship of the invasion, and now it was no more than a broken, floating wreck. His mind raced with thoughts of retaliation. The humans had humiliated him, but he would not allow this setback to be his downfall. "This will be their undoing," Korgath said, his voice low but filled with venom. "We have the power to regroup. They think they have won, but they've only delayed the inevitable." His fleet's commanders were equally enraged. "Our greatest vessels have been torn apart, our pride shattered. We cannot let them escape the consequences of this insult." Korgath's eyes burned with cold fury. "Send out the remaining ships. We will hunt them down, piece by piece. They will learn the true meaning of power. The humans will regret ever defying us." With a snap of his fingers, he ordered the scattered alien ships to converge. The remaining warships, wounded and battered, began to regroup, but they weren't just doing so to form a new fleet. No, Korgath had something more sinister planned. They would unleash their most devastating weapon, the Void Cannons. The Void Cannons were a weapon unlike anything humanity had seen. They could tear apart entire planets, rip through the fabric of space, and annihilate anything in their path. The aliens had kept this weapon hidden, knowing its power could turn the tide of any battle. They had thought it would be their final weapon to crush Earth's resistance. But now, with their fleet in disarray, they had no choice but to use it. Korgath's fleet was still scattered across the galaxy, but they had a new plan. The Void Cannons would be fired from the ships that had managed to escape the rifts. And if they couldn't destroy Earth's fleet directly, they would do so by destroying Earth itself. The tension was building on both sides. Earth's commanders knew that the rift generator couldn't be used again for another attack. It was already overtaxed. The fleet was vulnerable, and yet, even with the fear creeping in, General West stood firm. She knew that the only thing that could stop the alien retaliation was the full strength of humanity's forces. "We need to act now," General West said, her voice sharp as she turned toward her officers. "Our fleet is not ready for another direct hit. We must find their weak point before they can fire those void cannons." Lieutenant Harris quickly examined the data. There's a pattern to their reappearance. They're trying to regroup in a central location, probably to make a concentrated attack. If we can intercept them there, we can force them to scatter again. General West nodded. The plan was risky, but it was their only chance. Prepare the fleet. Move out immediately. As the Earth fleet took off in pursuit, the alien ships were already preparing their devastating weapon. The void cannons were charging, their power growing by the second. The aliens were no longer playing games. Their desperation was evident, and they were ready to make Earth pay for their humiliation. But General West had one advantage. She knew that the aliens were underestimating the true strength of humanity's resolve. The rift generator had already demonstrated that Earth could play the aliens' game of power and turn it on them. This wasn't just about firepower. It was about strategy, timing, and understanding the enemy's weakness. "We won't back down," General West said, more to herself than anyone else. "We'll hit them before they can hit us." The final confrontation was coming. The alien fleet, now regrouped and armed with the void cannons, would converge on Earth's fleet. The question was no longer about whether humanity could win. It was about whether Earth's fleet could hold on long enough to take down the alien forces once and for all. And in the cold depths of space, where the fate of billions rested on a knife's edge, both sides prepare for the battle that would decide the future of the galaxy. The alien panic. The atmosphere was tense as both Earth's fleet and the alien invaders drew closer to the inevitable confrontation. The last few minutes had been a blur of preparation, anxiety, strategy, and the knowledge that whatever happened next would determine the fate of Earth and its people. The alien fleet, bruised but not broken, had regrouped, and now the true test would come. Could humanity survive what the aliens were about to unleash? The remaining alien ships, some heavily damaged, others barely functional, glided into formation. The void cannons, their most deadly weapon, powered up with a horrifying hum that echoed across the silence of space. The flagship Vehemence, though scarred, remained the heart of the fleet, and its commander, Korgath, stood at the helm, watching Earth's forces draw nearer. The alien commanders were calm, too calm. That arrogance had carried them this far, and they still believed they were untouchable. The human fleet, despite their initial success, had suffered too many casualties to match the strength of the aliens. The void cannons would be their final strike, and nothing, not even Earth's hidden fleet, would be able to stop it. Yet, despite their confidence, Korgath couldn't shake a nagging feeling. Something was wrong. There was a stillness in the air, a quiet tension he couldn't explain. His mind began to race with questions. The human fleet had been swift, organized, almost too well prepared. Was there something they hadn't anticipated? He glanced at the radar, noting the scattered signals coming from Earth's ships. Everything seemed normal, but something about the way Earth's fleet was moving didn't sit right with him. "Commander, their fleet is coming in for the strike," one of his generals said. "We'll engage them head-on. The void cannons are ready." Korgath's eyes narrowed. "No, hold your fire." The general blinked in confusion. "But sir, they're in range. We can destroy them now." Korgath paused for a long moment, his hands resting on the cold metal of the bridge. "I said hold your fire." His voice was sharp, a hint of dread creeping in. "We're being set up. Keep an eye on their movements." Meanwhile, in the heart of the Earth Defense Command Center, General West and her team were preparing for what would come next. She had been tracking the alien fleet's movements closely, and she knew this was their last chance. With Earth's fleet still intact and the rift generator's power now restored, they had only one shot to deliver the final blow. "We're almost in position," Lieutenant Harris reported, his face glowing with the light of his console. "The alien fleet is charging up their void cannons, but they're not firing yet. They're waiting for something." "We'll give them something to wait for," General West said, her voice calm but intense. "Prepare the rift generator for activation. We need to strike them before they can strike us." Harris turned to his station, typing furiously. "Coordinates set. We'll open the rift at the center of their formation. Once we hit that spot, we'll destabilize their entire fleet." General West's hands gripped the edge of the console, her nerves steady, her resolve unwavering. She knew the risk. The rift generator had worked before, but this time it had to work perfectly. One mistake, and the entire fleet would be exposed. The seconds ticked by, each one feeling like an eternity. General West's mind raced as she watched the alien fleet's formation, calculating, analyzing, waiting for the right moment. Earth's fleet was now in position, their weapons primed. Every ship was prepared for battle, every officer focused. This was the moment that would determine whether they would live or die. Korgath stared at the screen, still unable to shake the uneasy feeling in his gut. The human fleet was coming at them, but something wasn't right. They weren't charging in the way they should have been. They weren't attacking with everything they had. In fact, they seemed patient, too patient. Why aren't they firing? Korgath demanded. I thought they were desperate. They should be attacking now. His officers stared at the display, their faces equally puzzled. They're holding back, sir. It's almost as if they're waiting for us to make the first move. A chill ran down Korgath's spine. What do you mean? I'm not sure, sir, but it's like they're setting a trap. Before he could respond, a sudden alarm blared across the bridge of the vehemence. The rift generator on Earth's side had activated, and the strange hum filled the air. There, it's a rift, one of the alien officers shouted. Too late. The first rift opened right at the heart of the alien fleet, a jagged tear in space-time that swallowed the first wave of ships before anyone could react. The alien vessels that had been closest to the center of the formation vanished, their systems, shields, and entire structures ripped from existence. The destruction was instantaneous. One moment the ships were there, the next they were gone. It was as if the very fabric of space itself had been shredded. Panic swept through the alien fleet as the rift grew wider, devouring more ships. The commanders scrambled to regain control, but the rifts were unstoppable. The damage was catastrophic. The void cannons, once their strongest weapon, were useless. Without their fleet's coordination, the alien forces were thrown into chaos. Fall back, Korgath shouted. His orders came too late. The remaining ships, damaged and disoriented, could not escape the rift's pull. Desperation took hold as more vessels were sucked into the widening vortex, never to be seen again. The alien commanders were calm, too calm. That arrogance had carried them this far, and they still believed they were untouchable. The human fleet, despite their initial success, had suffered too many casualties to match the strength of the aliens. The void cannons would be their final strike, and nothing, not even Earth's hidden fleet, would be able to stop it. Yet, despite their confidence, Korgath couldn't shake a nagging feeling. Something was wrong. There was a stillness in the air, a quiet tension he couldn't explain. His mind began to race with questions. The human fleet had been swift, organized, almost too well prepared. Was there something they hadn't anticipated? He glanced at the radar, noting the scattered signals coming from Earth's ships. Everything seemed normal, but something about the way Earth's fleet was moving didn't sit right with him. Commander, their fleet is coming in for the strike, one of his generals said. We'll engage them head-on. The void cannons are ready. Korgath's eyes narrowed. No, hold your fire. The general blinked in confusion. But sir, they're in range. We can destroy them now. Korgath paused for a long moment, his hands resting on the cold metal of the bridge. I said hold your fire. His voice was sharp, a hint of dread creeping in. We're being set up. Keep an eye on their movements. Meanwhile, in the heart of the Earth Defense Command Center, General West and her team were preparing for what would come next. She had been tracking the alien fleet's movements closely, and she knew this was their last chance. With Earth's fleet still intact and the rift generator's power now restored, they had only one shot to deliver the final blow. We're almost in position, Lieutenant Harris reported, his face glowing with the light of his console. The alien fleet is charging up their void cannons, but they're not firing yet. They're waiting for something. We'll give them something to wait for, General West said, her voice calm but intense. Prepare the rift generator for activation. We need to strike them before they can strike us. Harris turned to his station, typing furiously. Coordinates set. We'll open the rift at the center of their formation. Once we hit that spot, we'll destabilize their entire fleet. General West's hands gripped the edge of the console, her nerves steady, her resolve unwavering. She knew the risk. The rift generator had worked before, but this time, it had to work perfectly. One mistake, and the entire fleet would be exposed. The seconds ticked by, each one feeling like an eternity. General West's mind raced as she watched the alien fleet's formation, calculating, analyzing, waiting for the right moment. Earth's fleet was now in position, their weapons primed. Every ship was prepared for battle, every officer focused. This was the moment that would determine whether they would live or die. Korgath stared at the screen, still unable to shake the uneasy feeling in his gut. The human fleet was coming at them, but something wasn't right. They weren't charging in the way they should have been. They weren't attacking with everything they had. In fact, they seemed patient, too patient. Why aren't they firing? Korgath demanded. I thought they were desperate. They should be attacking now. His officers stared at the display, their faces equally puzzled. They're holding back, sir. It's almost as if they're waiting for us to make the first move. A chill ran down Korgath's spine. What do you mean? I'm not sure, sir, but it's like they're setting a trap. Before he could respond, a sudden alarm blared across the bridge of the vehemence. The rift generator on Earth's side had activated, and the strange hum filled the air. There, it's a rift, one of the alien officers shouted. Too late. The first rift opened right at the heart of the alien fleet, a jagged tear in space-time that swallowed the first wave of ships before anyone could react. The alien vessels that had been closest to the center of the formation vanished, their systems, shields, and entire structures ripped from existence. The destruction was instantaneous. One moment the ships were there, the next they were gone. It was as if the very fabric of space itself had been shredded. Panic swept through the alien fleet as the rift grew wider, devouring more ships. The commanders scrambled to regain control, but the rifts were unstoppable. The damage was catastrophic. The void cannons, once their strongest weapon, were useless. Without their fleet's coordination, the alien forces were thrown into chaos. Fall back, Korgath shouted. His orders came too late. The remaining ships, damaged and disoriented, could not escape the rift's pull. Desperation took hold as more vessels were sucked into the widening vortex, never to be seen again. General West, watching from Earth's command center, allowed herself a brief, satisfied smile. It had worked. The aliens were unraveling, their fleet falling apart in front of their eyes. But there was no time to celebrate. She knew the aliens would not give up so easily. They would regroup, adapt, and come back stronger. But for now, humanity had won. The alien fleet was in ruins, and the galaxy would forever remember the day when Earth fought back, when they took on the greatest power in the universe and shattered it in an instant. As the rifts closed and the last remnants of the alien fleet disappeared into the unknown, a profound silence filled the air. The first strike had been successful. Earth had shown the galaxy its might, and humanity had proven that no one, no matter how powerful, could ever truly ignore them. The truth revealed. The battle was over. The aftermath of the rift attack had left the alien fleet shattered, its most powerful ships obliterated, scattered across distant corners of space. Earth's forces had successfully defended their planet, but General Sarah West knew this was only a temporary victory. The aliens weren't gone, not by a long shot. If anything, the humiliation they had suffered would make them more determined than ever. Inside Earth's command center, the room was still. Everyone watched the screens, eyes glued to the images of the alien fleet's wreckage as it flickered out of view. The victorious silence was broken only by the sounds of the consoles humming and the soft murmur of officers speaking in hushed tones. "We've done it," Lieutenant Harris whispered, his voice trembling with disbelief. "We've really done it." General West didn't respond immediately. She stood still, her eyes scanning the monitor that displayed the last remnants of the alien fleet, now drifting in a disorderly pattern, many ships crippled beyond repair. But there were still survivors. The rifts hadn't swallowed everything. The survivors had been lucky enough to escape the full wrath of Earth's weapon, but they would not be able to regroup in time to launch an immediate counterattack. "We've won a battle," General West said softly. "But the war isn't over. They'll return. I don't care how humiliated they are. Korgath will find a way back." Harris nodded grimly. "Do you think the rift generator will work again?" The power surge was immense. General West's eyes hardened with resolve. "It might not, but it doesn't matter. We've shown them our strength. We've shown them what we're capable of." Her voice was firm, full of a newfound confidence. "And they'll be back. But when they are, they won't expect what we're really capable of." As the officers continued to monitor the wreckage of the alien fleet, something strange happened. The lights in the command center flickered briefly, then steadied again. An incoming transmission beeped loudly, drawing everyone's attention. The message was from an unknown source, coming from deep space, and it was unlike anything they had received before. "General," Harris called, his face tense. "You need to see this. It's from the alien fleet." The room went still. General West quickly approached the console, her fingers tense as she read the message displayed on the screen. It was short, chilling, and composed of only 2 words. "We're coming." The transmission was nothing more than a cold, empty declaration. No signature, no visual, just a promise, an ominous reminder that the alien forces would not be so easily deterred. General West's jaw clenched, but she didn't flinch. She turned to face the room of officers, her voice calm, but filled with an undeniable strength. "This isn't just a warning," she said, her tone resolute. "This is a declaration of war." The truth was becoming clear. The aliens had underestimated humanity once, but they would not make the same mistake twice. The remnants of their fleet were likely already regrouping, planning their next move. Earth had dealt them a blow, but the aliens would return. It was only a matter of time before they came back in full force, bringing with them far more devastating weapons, far more firepower. But now, General West knew that humanity had something more than just technology. They had resolve. Korgath and his fleet would soon understand that this wasn't a fight between 2 civilizations. It was a clash of ideologies. The aliens saw power as the ultimate answer to every problem, but Earth had something they could never take into account: the will to survive, the will to fight for every last inch of freedom. Back in the alien command ship, Korgath stood before a group of his generals, staring out at the remnants of Earth's defense. The humiliating defeat still burned in his chest, but he knew what he had to do. The decision was already made. The alien empire would rise again, stronger, angrier, and more relentless. "We underestimated them," Korgath said, his voice low but filled with rage. "The humans are more resourceful than we thought, but we will crush them. We will rebuild our fleet. We will make them regret this. They think this is over. They've just opened the gates to their destruction." One of the alien generals stepped forward, his voice cautious. "But sir, the rift generator, it can't be used again for a while, and the human fleet still stands. They might be able to. They'll never be able to stop us again." Korgath interrupted, his eyes blazing. "We've learned what we needed to know. The rift generator is a threat, yes, but it is a temporary solution. We have far worse weapons at our disposal. The void cannons will be the last thing they ever see." As the alien leaders began to plan their next move, Korgath's mind whirred with strategy. The next phase of the war would be far more brutal. Humanity had proven itself strong, but they had made a fatal mistake by standing up to the aliens in the first place. Back on Earth, General West stood before a massive digital map of the galaxy, her fingers resting lightly on the screen. The galaxy seemed small, distant, and yet incredibly vast at the same time. The war was not just about Earth anymore. It was about proving that humanity belonged in the universe, that Earth would not bow to anyone. But she knew that even if humanity survived this battle, they would need to be ready for what was coming. The rift generator, though powerful, could only offer temporary solutions. The true strength of humanity didn't lie in their technology, it lay in their willingness to fight for what was right. "We've won for now," General West said quietly, "but the real test is yet to come." The message from the alien fleet had only one meaning. Earth's fight for survival was far from over, and the aliens' return would be more dangerous, more relentless than anyone could imagine. But humanity would face it head-on, and they would not lose. The truth had been revealed. Earth's battle had only just begun. The aftermath. The silence on Earth was almost unbearable. After the chaos, the destruction, and the fierce battle that had unfolded in the cold depths of space, the world seemed to hold its breath. The alien fleet, shattered and scattered, had retreated, at least for now. But the victory felt hollow. General Sarah West knew the truth. This was not the end. It was merely the beginning of something much larger, something far more dangerous. In the command center, the mood was one of weary relief. Officers and soldiers moved about, their faces tired, their bodies aching, but there was a sense of quiet pride. Humanity had survived. For the moment, Earth was safe. But for how long? General West stood by a large screen that displayed the remnants of the alien fleet. The rift generator had done its job, but Earth had only seen the beginning of what was to come. The message had been clear. The aliens were regrouping, plotting their revenge. The words from the alien fleet still echoed in her mind. "We're coming. We're coming," she repeated softly, as if trying to make sense of the gravity of it. What exactly are they planning? Her mind raced. Earth had shown incredible strength, but what they had just faced was nothing compared to what would come next. The void cannons, the weapons they had barely managed to avoid, these were just the start of the aliens' arsenal. And now they were angry, humiliated. They would not forget this defeat. Lieutenant Harris approached, his face tight with the pressure of the last few days. "General, we've analyzed their fleet's movements. It's clear. They're already making repairs. A portion of their ships are intact, but their commanders, they're not making the same mistake again." "Of course not," General West said, her voice grim. "We've wounded them, but their pride won't let this go. They'll be back, and when they return, they won't underestimate us." She knew what had to be done. Earth needed to be ready, not just for the alien fleet, but for the unknown. The aliens had seen what humanity was capable of, and they wouldn't give up easily. But Earth had one thing that the alien invaders could never truly understand: resilience, the determination to never back down. "We need to strengthen our defenses," General West ordered, turning to face Harris. "We've barely scratched the surface of their power. We need to prepare for a larger assault. It's only a matter of time before the aliens return with everything they've got." "Understood," Harris responded, his tone resolute. "We'll start immediately. But General, we need to be careful. If we push too hard now, we might provoke them into launching a full-scale retaliation. They've already lost so much." General West nodded slowly, taking in his words. "We'll play it smart. We've learned from this fight, and now we need to anticipate their next move." Back on the alien flagship, Korgath stood before his generals, his fists clenched in anger. The damage to their fleet had been severe, and yet, the humiliation of defeat was even worse. The rift generator had shown them something they couldn't ignore. But Korgath wasn't one to accept failure. He had sworn vengeance, and that vengeance would come. The alien generals gathered around him, their expressions stern. "The humans are more resilient than we thought. They have far more strength than we anticipated." Korgath's eyes glowed with fury. "And we will break them," he growled. "They think they've won. But this was only the first round. We'll come back stronger. We'll use the void cannons, we'll use everything we've got. The humans will regret ever daring to defy us." He turned to one of his top commanders. start the repairs. We'll rebuild our fleet and make it even more powerful. We'll show Earth what real power looks like. The galaxy will bow to us once and for all." As the alien forces began their preparations, Korgath and his generals discussed their next steps. They were focused now, driven by the need to recover their honor. The humans had dealt them a blow, but they would return with a force that Earth would not be able to withstand. Back on Earth, General West could feel the weight of what was to come. The calm before the storm had passed, but she couldn't afford to let her guard down. The alien forces were regrouping, preparing, and Earth had to be ready. The rift generator had worked. Miraculously, it had worked. But it couldn't be relied on again, not yet. Earth needed more than just advanced weapons. They needed an edge, something the aliens couldn't predict, something that would turn the tide once and for all. "We'll need allies," General West said, more to herself than to anyone else. "We need to build alliances beyond Earth, gather whatever we can from other species who know what it means to fight for survival." Her words were met with silence. The rest of her team knew exactly what that meant. It meant humanity would have to reach out into the stars to bring together every species who had ever been oppressed, every race that had been crushed under the heel of alien invaders. If the galaxy was to survive, it would have to stand together. General West looked out the window of the command center, her gaze sweeping over the city below. It was a peaceful scene. People were rebuilding, returning to their lives, unaware of the storm that was coming. But she knew that the peace would not last forever. The aliens would come back, stronger, angrier. And Earth would be ready. She turned back to her officers, her voice steady and determined. "Prepare for the next phase. We don't just need to defend Earth. We need to take the fight to them. We'll show the aliens that they made a mistake underestimating us. Humanity will rise up, and this time we'll win." And with that, the next chapter in humanity's struggle began. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about sending a message to the galaxy. Humanity would no longer be a footnote in the universe. They had shown their strength, their resolve. And when the aliens returned, they would face a force far greater than they had ever expected.